Halo, one of the most recognizable first-person shooters of all time. Today, I'm going to pick apart the first one, which is in my opinion the best one, and tell you what's good and bad and what's up and down. Reminder, Halo is my favorite game of all time, but I will not deny that it has its issues. So, let's get right into it. Halo, Combat Evolved, or simply Halo, was released in 2001, and let me cut right to the chase. Halo has some great charm all around. A great part of that is the introduction of the characters you'll learn to love throughout the game, such as Cortana, an AI who, over time, grows into your witty, charismatic friend throughout the soon-coming alien genocide. And Sergeant Johnson, a highly trained UNSC Marine, most recognizable by his ever-present cigar, which is somehow nearly always lit, and his deep and recognizable voice. And of course, John 117, the Master Chief himself, taken as a young child and genetically trained, modified, and adapted into a superhuman murder machine. Chief, as I'll call him for the rest of the video, is one of the most recognizable video game characters of all time. I'd say he's up there with Duke Nukem or Mario and Luigi. From his bright green armor to his voice, a stellar performance provided by Stephen Downes. Chief has so many recognizable features about him, and I would say that if you were to show someone a picture of him and ask if they knew him, they'd probably say yes. Halo follows Chief, Cortana, and the rest of the UNSC throughout their fight against the Covenant, a brutal and relentless alien force known for their sheer power of destroying planets in under a few days through a process known as glassing, or the process of using plasma weaponry to burn, scorch, and annihilate entire civilizations. The game opens following the Pillar of Autumn, a UNSC spaceship after its escape from the planet Reach, a distant relevant of Earth, after its glassing. As the game's main music plays, you are shown the sheer size of the Pillar of Autumn before the camera pans left to show you a ring-like planet, orbiting a large, more traditional planet. As the ship coasts, you hear Captain Keyes, the head of this UNSC fleet, discussing the recent events with Cortana while planning how they're going to escape the pursuing Covenant forces. Keyes issues a command:
"Bring the ship back up to Combat Alert Alpha. I want everyone at their station."
Everyone, sir?
Everyone.
Thus, Master Chief is awoken. After a little bit of training and control setup, you're let free into the Pillar of Autumn. On your way to Keyes' chamber, you witness the deaths of humans at the hands of the elites and the grunts. Elites being the highest level of Covenant soldiers, labeled as honorable, stealthy, and strong. They're loyal to their leaders and believe in what they will tell them. The grunts are the exact opposite of the elites. Small, weak, uncoordinated, the grunts were taken from their planet and forced to serve in laboring positions or placed in battle as meat shields for the elites. They are fueled by fear and literally fueled by drugs supplied by the higher-ups to keep them in the fight. Once you reach Keyes, he hands you his magnum, which, good God, get ready to see this for the rest of the game. And he also hands you the AI chip, for Cortana, obviously, allowing her to access your mind.
Your architecture isn't much different from the Autumn's.
Don't get any funny ideas.
Soon enough, you'll retrieve the assault rifle, a 60-round, fast fire rate weapon capable of depleting a magazine as well as an enemy's shields in just a couple of seconds. This AR is particularly nostalgic for me, just because of how cool I thought the ammo counter was as a kid. Now, as you maul down elites and grunts throughout the ship, you find a window looking down into your cryo station, showing that the elites were hunting you. Specifically you. And to me, this shows that the elites know that Chief is their greatest threat in this war, and that they needed to take him out while he was in cryo. Alas, they were too late, and you can walk off scot-free as they shoot in your general direction. The mission ends as you escape in a drop pod, heading straight for the Halo. Once you land, you wake to discover that every person who was in the pod with you has died in the landing. While sneaking away from the Covenant ships, you come across Sergeant Johnson and his ragtag crew of soldiers, holding down some Forerunner structures. Forerunners being the creators of the Halo ring. Here, you will be introduced to jackals, shield-carrying avian-type creatures that know how to use their guns. As you help Johnson fight off a wave of Covenant forces, you may run out of ammo, leading you to pick up some foreign alien weaponry. Weapons such as the elite plasma rifle or the plasma pistol. The plasma pistol is an automatic plasma launching weapon that drains enemies' shields very fast, but at the downside of having the ability to overheat, and you also can't pick up spare ammo without having to ditch your current rifle. Plasma pistols, on the other hand, are much more universal than hold the trigger and fire. It has the ability to fire fast if you spam the trigger, but if you hold the trigger down, it'll charge a more powerful shot that acts like a homing blast that completely knocks out an enemy's shield. This can be used in a sort of combo where if you hit them with the plasma shot, you can swap to your other gun and melt them, even if it's the weakest gun in the entire game. After the standoff with Johnson, you're tasked with driving to nearby drop pod spots in hopes of finding survivors, which you do. Once you have activated the survivors, you are tasked with finding an evac point for yourself, which you do. In my opinion, the mission simply named Halo is sadly the most disappointing in hopes of what I would have wanted to see. When I see this giant ring-shaped planet, I want to see its landscape and be blinded by its beauty. Make me wonder what more this foreign planet can provide in terms of creativity and imagination. But alas, this was 2001. I can't ask too much in terms of visual representation due to the limitations of that time. On to the next mission. Truth and Reconciliation is, in my opinion, one of the best missions in the game. Truth starts out as a stealth covert ops mission where you are tasked with boarding a Covenant ship to find Captain Keyes. Your primary weapons are the sniper rifle and AR. The sniper rifle has two different zoom variations and can kill most enemies in a satisfying headshot. At one point in the mission, you get the choice if you prefer a point of attack. You can attack from the top and send your Marines through the middle, or you can send them on a flank and rush through the middle yourself. Sadly, this is the only time this choice is given throughout the entire game. It would have been nice to feel like more of a squad leader than a machine who treats the Marines the way the Leech treats the Grunts. It was nice to feel like a commander, and I'm quite disappointed at the lack of this. Once you reach the gravity lift leading up to the ship, two new enemies are shown. Hunters, the most formidable and visually intimidating enemy in the game, armed with a large plasma cannon shooting explosive rounds and a sword/shield combo for an arm. And be careful, they only have a few select weak points: the back, the neck, arm joints, and leg joints. 2 sniper shots in any of these positions can destroy these hulking monsters, or you can just simply use all your grenades on them. After vanquishing the hunters, you and a squad of soldiers enter the ship through the grav lift. At this point, the color scheme of the game changed from natural, earthy colors to a very common coloration of purple, gray, blue, and neon green, all of which tend to be very alien colors, setting the mood. Battling your way through the ship's inhabitants, you make your way to the holding cells, where you find Keyes and several more soldiers who will assist you throughout the rest of the mission. Now, this is when things start to suck a bit. The entire objective of Truth up till now was to find Keyes. Well, now you got him, so what do you got to do? Escort him out in good old 2000s escort mission style, where if he dies, which, trust me, he will die, you lose. This can be extremely infuriating due to the fact that Keyes kinda sucks at combat. He's got nearly triple the health of a normal Marine, but half the combat ability, meaning you're gonna have to baby him quite a bit. However, if you see him doing that, you'll be granted with a daring escape using a Covenant dropship in a pretty cool way.
That's it. The dropship is loose.
Everybody, mount up. Let's get on board.
Give me a minute to interface with the ship's controls.
No need. I'll take this bird out myself.
Captain! Hunters!
Hang on.
Nice one, sir.
Time for a little payback.
The next mission, the Silent Cartographer, is another memorable one. After being deployed on an island in the middle of a long expanding sea into an already pretty active fight, you're tasked with finding Halo's Cartographer, which will lead you to the control room. At this point in the story, the UNSC have discovered that the Halo is not a planet, but a structure which can be controlled. And they don't know what for, but they know it can be controlled. This mission consists of quite a bit of driving around the obvious routes on the island's landscape, killing aliens until you find the designated objective, of which you get locked out of. And this means you have to drive around looking for a way to unlock that door, which is guarded by 2 hunters, and then go back to where the door is. Then what follows is a huge tunnel section, which is pretty repetitive and boring, with very little changes in scenery that ends when you find the Cartographer and are evac. The next mission, Assault on the Control Room, is so boring. The entire mission is set in a snowy area, different from pretty much the rest of the game, with a few tunnel segments filled with Forerunner architecture. This mission is very heavy on vehicle combat. Sounds fun, right? Well, it is, until you lose your vehicle, because have fun walking around and attacking enemies without it. Most of the level, you will be driving a Scorpion, Halo's take on a tank. It's criminally overpowered, acting as pretty much a sniper rifle, but using missiles. And good luck turning that thing when you run into a wall, because you will be stuck, and there will be enemies firing upon you. As it turns out, this mission is my second least favorite in the entire game, just because it feels very repetitive, and there doesn't really feel like anything new is introduced, besides the enemies being able to drive Wraiths, Covenant tanks, that are kind of annoying. However, the control room does look very cool once you finally get there. This mission is 343 Guilty Spark, what is personally my favorite mission in the entire game. The opening scenes of this mission are very different from the rest. It starts off familiar, you being dropped off in a Pelican, ready to shoot some aliens and maybe get lost in the process. However, things are quickly turned into a slight horror experience when you start to see that every time you encounter a group of Covenant, you begin to notice there aren't any elites in the opening sequence. All you find are grunts and jackals running from an unseen threat, only stopping to attack you when you attack them. Once you reach your objective, the last known location of a squad of soldiers including Keyes, Johnson, and some unknown Marines, you see Covenant running for their lives from gunfire, human gunfire, a sign of familiarity, a sign of allies. But once you enter, there isn't anyone to be seen. Whilst walking through the structure, you begin to notice an abundance of green goo and blood spattered all over the walls, and corpses sprawled on the floor. Finally, you find the last known location of the Lost Squad, but not in the way you would have liked to. Once Chief opens the door to the room, a corpse collapses into his arms, the only corpse to be seen. The rest of the men are nowhere in sight, only their helmets, splashes of blood, and their weapons. As Chief takes one of the helmets and inserts its visual chip into its helmet, we see that soldier's point of view.
Why do we always have to listen to this old stuff, Sarge?
Watch your mouth, son. This stuff is your history. It should remind you grunts what we're fighting to protect.
Hey, does the Covenant want to wipe out this particular part of my history? That's fine by me.
Yeah, better it than us.
You ask them nice next time you see him, Vicente. I'm sure they'll be happy to oblige.
Now Z looks clear. I'm bringing us down.
Go, go, go!
Which is weird, right? I mean, look at it. Something scrambled the insides.
What's that? Plasma scoring?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there was an accident, you know, friendly fire or something?
What do we have, Sergeant?
Looks like a Covenant patrol. Badass elite units. All KIA.
Real pretty. Friend of yours?
Nah, we just met.
Right, well, let's get this door open.
I'll try, sir. But it looks like these Covenant worked pretty hard to lock it down.
Just do it, son.
Yes, sir. Got a bad feeling about this.
Boy, you always got a bad feeling about something.
What's going on, soldier?
He's got contact. Lost them. But they're not Covenant. They're just tearing through us. What the clone? No!
Corporal, do you copy? Over. Mendoza, get your ass back up to second squad's position and find out what the hell is going on.
But-
I don't have time for your lip, soldier. I gave you an order.
Sarge! Listen!
What is that?
Where's that coming from, Mendoza?
I don't... There! Mira!
Hold still! Hold still! Let him have it!
Sergeant, we're surrounded.
God damn it, Jenkins! Fire your weapons!
There are too many,
Don't
Sarge!
even think about it, Marine.
What is it? Rocco!
Get back here, Marine. That's an order.
Jenkins!
This is the Flood, a virus-like pathogen that spreads through infection of a living host. These small flood cells latch onto their victims and turn them almost immediately into their own mutated, mangled, and violent monster. The Flood is my favorite enemy in the entire Halo universe. Being able to mow down and shred through hordes of zombie-like monsters on an alien planet is one of the coolest things I could think of. While the Flood have been awoken, it is your job to escape, finding some of the squad on your way out and helping them escape, only to be mauled to their death as you are saved by the Monitor. The Monitor is a pretty annoying character. From the high-pitched voice he's stuck with, to how he's an AI, but not as advanced as Cortana, making him kinda lame. The Monitor will only follow his set directions and settings, never to break them. At the end of 343 Guilty Spark, the Monitor teleports Chief into the library, which is also the name of the next level. The library is widely received by many as one of the worst missions in Halo CE. But personally, I think it's pretty good. Maybe that's just because I like the Flood and using the shotgun on them is great. Oh, yeah, the shotgun. The shotgun in Halo CE is one of the greatest video game shotguns of all time. This thing can snipe people from yards away and obliterate them at close range. It's pretty fun until a Flood type gets one, which they know how to use it. Now, the library is a pretty simple mission on the surface. You follow the Monitor, he opens the door for you, you follow him some more, rinse and repeat until the end. However, the layout of this mission is pretty confusing at times. Even with these bright arrows on the floor, it could be easy to get lost even if you've never played this mission before. The mission ends with Chief acquiring the Index, the key to activate the Halo. Okay, so this next mission. I refuse to play this mission anytime I play through Halo Combat Evolved. 2 Betrayals. First, let me get some context to the story so far. So, the Monitor has betrayed Chief and Cortana, but not intentionally, only following his coding. Monitor said that the Index was a key to activate and destroy the Flood. What he didn't mention was that to destroy the Flood meant destroying any other life form they could feed on. So essentially, the Halo is a galaxy-ending weapon. Nice! Okay. Back to 2 Betrayals. 2 Betrayals is literally just assault on the control room, but now you have to fight not only the Covenant, but the Flood and the Sentinels. Sentinels are just the flying robot dudes that helped you through the library. They kinda suck, but Monitor is mad at you, so they are too, I guess? Oh well, but yeah. 2 Betrayals is awful. This is literally the definition of backtracking, and I hate it. Moving on. So after 2 Betrayals comes Keys, a not so bad, but not very good either mission. Remember that spaceship from Truth and Reconciliation? Well, it's the Floods now, and they have keys. And by the way, have I said that with each mission, this game gets harder and harder? Well, this one is probably harder than the last mission in my opinion. In Keys dies, infected by the Flood. Oh, and you can see his pipe being held by the tentacles, kind of a cool Easter egg. I do appreciate that this mission is a callback to an older mission in the game, which I don't have a problem with returning and reusing missions in a game. I just don't like to backtrack through the same mission. You can reuse the same environment, but just change it a little bit. Like in Truth and Reconciliation, you never went under the ship, and you never saw it in a destroyed state like it is now. But in Keys, you get to fight the Flood, and you already start inside the ship, so technically, you are fighting your way out of the ship. Oh well. Moving on. The Maw. The Maw is a good level. It's a nice conclusion to the game, ending you on a crashed Pillar of Autumn, the ship you started the game on. You even follow through the maintenance tunnels you used quite often in that level. The Maw is an amazing level, fighting the Flood on a broken POA while trying to use it as a nuclear bomb to destroy the Halo is such a great feeling. The Monitor's repeated attempts to stop you are also pretty fun, which, speaking of the Monitor, how about a boss fight? The only boss fight in Halo Combat Evolved is the Monitor himself. It's a pretty boring boss fight, sadly, where you press buttons, jump onto a platform, and throw a grenade in to destroy power cores to destroy the Pillar of Autumn's engine. My main problem with this fight is that if you aren't very good at platforming, good luck. It will take forever having to go all the way down, and if you don't die of fall damage, that is, and climb back up to push a button and toss a nade 4 times. Which, it doesn't tell you where the armory is to get more grenades. That took me about 10 minutes to find. But oh well. After the engine destabilizes, just starting a countdown, comes in the best part of the game, setting a tone for the rest of the entire Halo series, where they all end in what is called a Warthog run, where the player drives a Warthog down a set path, avoiding obstacles and running from threats. It's a very cool ending, and is also quite intense at points. While this is going on, Cortana is repeatedly calling for evac, which sadly results in the death of the recognizable Pelican pilot, Foehammer. Losing hope, Cortana looks for more solutions to escape, before finding a ship to fly out on. You drive to where the ship is in the last stretch of the Warthog run, and have to book it on foot once your path is blocked, all while the Flood chases you close behind, biting at your heels. Chief hops into the ship, primes it, and begins to fly off, leaving the Halo behind, left to the fate of the Pillar of Autumn. And that was Halo Combat Evolved. So, what did I think? Halo Combat Evolved is a great game. It sets a tone for a lot of the first-person shooters that came out after it. And although it did change to become more modern over time, with Halo 2 and 3 having no medkit system, but instead regenerating health, sort of like the Call of Duty series. This is not a bad choice, and they also explain it using story by explaining that Chief's armor has been upgraded, which isn't a bad thing. I think that's actually totally fine. But back to Halo Combat Evolved. Halo Combat Evolved is great. A lot of my love for the game, though, comes from nostalgia. Nostalgia that when I would boot up my old Windows XP computer and launch it, that I could explore this game with no limits. It was one of the most open games of its time, and it holds up. It really does hold up. And that's what I have to say about it. That is my review on Halo Combat Evolved.